All right, what's going on, everybody? How y'all feeling? So, I'm gonna bring y'all along today with another ride along series. You know, actually, this is something that I was talking about incorporating in my YouTube channel, and my ride along series is basically, if you watch one of them before, you know that I actually turned this into a podcast. So, I'm thinking about creating a video podcast, and these ride along series is going to be part of that. So, I wanted to make a video today, and I didn't really know exactly what to talk about. Now, I'm in the car right now, and it's hot, dude. I gotta turn the air on. Dude, it's so hot outside today in New Jersey. It's like 157 degrees, man. You sweating an air conditioner on a day like today. Alright, but basically, I wanted to talk about a principle-centered life, man, and how to live a principle-centered life, right? And actually what I've been learning about living a principle-centered life, right? So I've been reading this book. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it was recommended to me by a mentor of mine. And so I started checking the book out, and it actually has like a lot of really, good, useful tips. But it talks about this whole concept of living a principle-centered life, and basically saying that you surround your life with you make decisions in your life based off of a set of principles, right? And a set of principles is always going to be the same, no matter what the situation is, right? So whether you're making a decision about work, whether you're making a decision about family, whether you're making a decision about anything, you have these certain set of principles and values that you base it off of. And I know that seems pretty simple, and I know a lot of people do this, but they talked about the different centers in which we make our, decisions. And those different centers could be a friend center, decision-making process. So you make it based off of your friends. Are your friends going to be there? Are they not going to be there? What will they think of you? The opposite of that is an enemy-based center. So you're making decisions based off of somebody that you don't like, right? And we all have people that we don't like. So, I'm not new to that, but making your decisions based off of that fact. There's other things such as like money. Are you making your decisions based off of financials, financial gain or financial worry? Work. Are you making it because you want to get further ahead in work, or anything work related? You want to be seen more valuable in the company, whatever the case may be. Or even family. Are you making decisions based off of your family? How would your family feel about you and the decisions that you make and what you're doing? And so, we all have a center that we kind of lean to a little bit more, and that we tend to make most of our decisions out of. And, the funny thing is when you're reading and you see it, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and the funny thing is that as I'm reading it, I can identify different friends, in my life who, I might be like, oh, that's that person, or yeah, that's that person, and when you're reading it, it's kind of easy to sit back and kind of be like, oh, I don't know if I fit any of these categories. But then I really started thinking about it, and I seen where I was making a lot of my decisions based out of, and a lot of times it was money based, it was work based, and it was family based. So those were like really the main things, but there was really no rhyme or reason to it. And that's what this whole living a principle-centered life is about. You have these principles that you identify in your life, these principles and these values that never change, regardless of the situation. So whether you're making a decision that's based around work, or whether you're making a decision that's based around, your family, or your business, or whatever the case may be, you have these principles. They're the core fundamental principles that you live by, the value system that you have. And everybody's just going to look different because, to each their own. But by doing this, it takes, the thought out of, or I don't want to say thought, but the regret per se. Like, sometimes we make decisions and then you look back and you're like, was that the best decision? And you made it because you were making it out of this, particular mind state at that particular time. Which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is to recognize it. And, if it's something that's not serving you, then change it to something that is. And, and I've looked at this myself, and, and it's funny because sometimes when it comes to making decisions, some of the things that I would do and some of the things that, like, for example, like my wife would do, are very different. And sometimes, I realize that my decisions sometimes are a little bit fear-based, and she's more so like, yeah, just go for it, man. Like, just do it. Just go for it, man. It'll work out. And it's funny because like I have no problem taking risks, but like I'm very calculated about them. And sometimes, when I hear her say things like that, it just gives me that extra boost. But but we're making decisions kind of out of two centers or whatever the case may be. But we have a core set of values that we make a lot of our collective decisions on. But for myself, I don't know if I really had a core set of values. I have values that I was brought up with, principles and everything else that I live by, but I don't know if I was always measuring my decisions. And it's not that I don't know, I do know that I wasn't always measuring my decisions, against my values, and I wasn't really, consciously thinking of why I was making that particular decision at the time that I chose to make it. And so, that's kind of one of the interesting things about this book, is that you begin to, kind of look at your own decision-making process, and you recognize that. And one of the tips that I thought was super helpful was, in the book they give you, all types of things, but one of the topics that they touched on was time management. And, and let me get this camera. All right, so one of the things that they touched on was time management, and, how to delegate your time and set up, your day. And I know that there's a lot of things going on around time management. I mean, tools and resources that you can use, organizers and journals and everything else under the sun, right? Timing methods and stopwatches or whatever you want to use. But this really talks about creating your to-do list, right? We all know about an infamous to-do list, right? But creating that to-do list and the tasks that you do throughout your week based on those principles and based on like particular characteristics that are unique to you. So for example, you identify these different roles that you have in your life. So one would be, I have a role as an individual, right? I'm an individual first and foremost, but aside from that, I'm a husband, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm I guess like a mentor for some, I'm a creative, I'm a consultant, all these different things. I'm a photographer, a videographer, whatever the case may be. But the book talks about, creating and scheduling your week around those things. And this was actually really eye-opening to me, because it talks about to-do lists and how, to-do lists are great because they do keep you on track. And they do allow you to cross things off that you needed to get done. It's a storm coming in actually right now. It's lightning is bad, and they're supposed to be having a concert tonight at this park right where I live, but I don't think that's going to happen. But they talk about this to-do list. Let me get back to the to-do list. But they talk about how the to-do list, you only kind of focus on, maybe this like day-to-day element of your life, and you're not kind of looking at the bigger picture per se. And it's one of those things where it doesn't take anything away. It's not saying like don't do to-do lists, like absolutely have to, right? But start looking at the bigger picture and start scheduling your week around your roles and those principles that you believe in those roles. So for example, one is I'm an individual, so one of the things that's important to me is like health, I guess, and like physical fitness. So I like to exercise. So I exercise basically almost every day. And I mix it up for myself. I like to run. I'm a runner. So I run, sometimes I'll do like, a little bit, like pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups and stuff like that. Kind of like, body resistance type of stuff. And I like to read, and, I like to create and all that other stuff. So for me, that's the thing. I'm an individual. So let's just say that exercise is important to me. So I'm gonna make sure that throughout my week, I have time scheduled specifically to exercise and take the time to do that, because it's something that's important to me. Now another role might be that I'm a husband, right? And so as a husband, you want to, make sure that you're being attentive or whatever the case may be. So that might be, making sure that I set aside a date night for me and my wife. Make sure that I set aside, or reminders of things to maybe just be romantic. I'm not always romantic. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably like most men, but but something like that, like, hey, just get some flowers, or maybe pick up dinner tonight, or something small. Hey, go for a walk, or go for a date night on this night, or check out a movie, or set aside time for that. So because I'm a husband, so I want to set aside time for being a husband. And then it goes down the line. I'm a son, so I'll set aside time for my parents and make sure that I'm touching base with them and talking to them and spending time with them, and making all these decisions based off of these principles, and off of the roles that you establish for yourself. So I thought that book was super super helpful, and I'll leave a link in it in the description below. You should definitely check it out. I'm gonna recommend this book to any and everybody. But yeah, this is just my little ride along series, man, and that's my little take on living a principle centered life. So if you out there, you trying to do the same, let me know. Drop something in the comments, man, and we'll see how this works out. Like I said, I'm gonna be testing this as a video podcast, so we'll see how that goes. But until next time, peace. I'm out.